everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. Welcome back. We have another incredible show for you this week, discussing some of my favorite labels, including Deaf Crocodile, Arrow Video, Eureka Entertainment, Radiance Films. We even have a catalog title from 20th Century Studios that I'm super excited to talk about. So I'll dig right into that right now. But first, I just want to mention, as usual, I'll try to go through these as quickly as possible while giving you all the pertinent information you need to know. But if you need a little bit more in depth, I typically do written reviews for most of these titles on GeekVibesNation.com. So if you want a little bit more of a deep dive, within a week of this video posting, go to GeekVibesNation.com and you'll probably see a written review from me. But for now, I will start by going into my first title. It is a 2025 release from A24. That is the Blu-ray of The Legend of Ochi. This is a family film that kind of harkens back to the 80s kind of fantasy adventure vein. In this, you have a young girl played by Helena Zengel, who people may know from News of the World with Tom Hanks from a few years back. And she is a girl who has grown up mostly raised by her father, and she has an older brother and stuff. And they have been taught to kind of fear and hunt this species of creature called Ochi, until one day she finds a little baby one who's been left behind, and she goes on an adventure to try to get it back to its family, all the while being pursued by her father and a group of young boys, who is played by Willem Dafoe. And this also has some really fun, artwork on the back as well. But it is a really fun tale. I liked it. It looks like it would use a lot of digital effects, but as you can see, there's a lot of really cool practical puppetry and other kind of handmade effects that it looks so crisp and clear that it can kind of trick your mind. Rest assured, there's a lot of work that's been put into this film from the director, and it looks really gorgeous. The narrative, it goes by pretty quickly. It's only right around an hour and a half long, maybe just a tad bit over. But it kept my attention pretty well throughout. I'd heard some mixed things after its Sundance premiere earlier this year. But I think it's a pretty solid family film. It may not be like an absolute instant classic, but very, very good for sure. And of course, the titular creature is super cute. And it's always fun seeing Willem Dafoe going a little bit off the reservation. It's a really, really solid movie. So if you're looking for a family film that has a little bit more indie artistic minded vibe, but still appropriate enough for kind of mature children, The Legend of Ochi, very much recommended from me. And the Blu-ray looks very nice. This is such a visually sumptuous film. I wish it had gotten a 4K release, but as is, this Blu-ray looks very nice. And it has a Dolby Atmos track, which is very immersive and stuff, and makes good use of the height channels whenever they are out on this kind of journey. It's technically a very, very good release. It has some special features, including a commentary track, behind-the-scenes featurettes, and deleted scenes. Nice release from A24. I'm glad they've been really picking up their self-distributed physical media releases in 2025. We got some really exciting ones on the horizon, but for now, Legend of Ochi is a good addition to your collection, so make sure to check that out. Going down a format to DVD, which I don't typically do, but I make rare exceptions. From Music Box Home Entertainment, it is The Trouble with Jessica. Now, I had edited a review of this one earlier this year, and it had me intrigued enough from one of my colleagues, Phil Walsh, who really liked this movie, so I thought I'd check it out. And it's a pretty fun, kind of dark satire about two couples who are having a dinner party, and they each have their own secrets and stuff. And there's kind of one uninvited guest or semi-uninvited guest, the titular Jessica, who shows up at the party, and while she's there, she hangs herself. And it really kind of upsets the vibe, and no one really wants to deal with it, because if there's a body found at this house that is being put on the market, the couple that owns the house is afraid that they won't be able to sell it, and there's all kinds of other misunderstandings and conniving and all kinds of stuff going on in the background of just like self-interest and all kinds of interpersonal drama, and it's ridiculous. Jessica had a semi-famous presence in the town, so that leads to some people trying to get in touch with her while because they know that she is in the house. That kind of these people are trying to like cover up this crime and everything, or not this crime, but this death. It's ridiculous. It's very written in that it feels very much like it could have been a stage play. I don't believe it was. Just the kind of twisted, but maybe just a slightly toothless in certain regards, like where there is some really sharp, dark comedy, but then they sometimes feel like they're pulling their punches a slight bit, which could have really made this sing. But overall, just as kind of a comedy of manners and just ridiculous situations. The Trouble with Jessica, I found to be quite a bit of fun. I hope it gets a Blu-ray release at some point, maybe from the like Ocean Distribution Vinegar Syndrome partner labels. But for now, if you want to own it on physical media, this DVD is passable for sure, because an upscale DVD still looks pretty solid, especially with newer films, but I always prefer Blu-ray, but it looks decent. You'll get a small bit of macro blocking. The textures aren't quite as crisp and clear as you may want them to be, but it is a good presentation. Dolby Digital 5.1 lossy audio. Not much in the way of special features. You just have a very brief, like 5-minute behind the scenes featurette, an image gallery, and a trailer. So not much to it, but if you are intrigued by The Trouble with Jessica, maybe check it out. And the DVD is here, and maybe hopefully a Blu-ray in the future. But now we head down a stretch of 2000's 4K upgrade, 2000's films getting a 4K upgrade, and I'm very excited about a lot of these. And the first of which is once again celebrating the 4K releases from 20th Century Studios and Disney this year with the unexpected 4K of Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year we would get a 4K of this, I would have called you a liar and cast you out, because this is shocking that they are kind of opening up their catalog like this to 4K releases, but except for a title such as this one. But I'm all here for it. I just watched this movie for the first time a couple of years ago, because I had the DVD set for so long, and then the Blu-ray, and I was like, okay, I need to just not have this unwatched in my collection for years and years. And I finally watched it, and I thought it was pretty solid. I wasn't enamored with it as much as everyone else, but I thought it was a good movie, and I was excited whenever this got announced for a 4K release to revisit it. And when I watched it again on 4K, I think I had my expectations more so in check, and I did end up liking it quite a bit more. I like it's a period piece. Russell Crowe plays a captain of a ship who is at war, trying to track down this French warship and take them down during wartime. And they keep getting, at the very beginning, they get their asses handed to them with a really, really impressive battle on the sea. And then things just kind of spiral out from there. And it's a lot of suspense, and while the action sequences, whenever they do pop up, are very thrilling, a lot of it is just kind of like the mood on board the ship and kind of the wondering if the crew should continue this pursuit that many kind of see as a suicide mission, or if they should return home, and just kind of listening like the mental state of their captain and how that kind of unfolds. And he has a ship doctor played by Paul Bettany that he has Russell Crowe has a really fun and interesting dynamic with. I find this to be a very entertaining movie, and I'm glad that it got a 4K release. It's got a new 4K remaster in Dolby Vision. It looks very, very nice. The cinematography is one of the most lauded aspects of this movie, and it really shines in Dolby Vision. Not always the most colorful film. It does get so under a certain like lighting conditions, under like bright sun and everything. But there is a lot of like smoky and foggy instances where whenever you're viewing it on like a lesser format like the Blu-ray, some of this can get a little bit kind of blocky and everything, but on 4K this really kind of tightens up more, and the fog is dense, but it doesn't turn into a blocky mess. It really helps get the nuances of every location and all the textures on the uniforms and all kinds of stuff like that. Everything visually has been kind of refined and made to look the best that it possibly can. It really, really looks good on 4K. And then you also have a Dolby Atmos upgrade for the audio side of the spectrum. And whenever you have movies with intense battles, an Atmos track usually adds to that, and that is the case here, especially when you have people like climbing up to like the mast of the ship, and you just hear certain aspects from up above that are very impressive, and including different seabirds and everything. Technically, you couldn't ask for more. Disney has done a really nice job with this. In addition to the Steelbook, which this is the only way to buy this in America right now, is through the Steelbook version. The only real shortcoming of this release that I can fault them for is there are no special features on the 4K disc, and the Blu-ray is recycled from the previous Blu-ray release, and that was fairly bare bones. There was a few special features, including some deleted scenes and some trivia tracks and stuff, and different kind of interactive things. But kind of the more meaty stuff that I happen to still own with this really cool DVD collection that looks like almost like an old book, none of those special features were carried over like any of the documentaries and stuff. So if you have that old release, you might want to hold on to that for the special features, because there's barely any on here. But if you just want the best audiovisual presentation for this movie, this 4K is definitely the way to go. I hope this is a sign that we'll still continue to get even more and more from Disney and Fox, or 20th Century Studios, my apologies. But we are heading in the right direction for them, and I'm very glad to see this. So we've had like Kingdom of Heaven, Tombstone, stuff like that. Keep it up. I'm so excited to see these deep cuts coming out, and this is very impressive, so make sure to pick it up. And if you like Tales of the Open Sea, I still have your back after Master and Commander as we head to Arrow Video, and we have their 4K upgrade of Poseidon, which is a remake of the classic disaster film, The Poseidon Adventure. This is Wolfgang Petersen. After a bevy of hits, kind of faltered with this one, but this is a reversible cover art. The other cover art is just like this underneath. For brevity, I turned it around. I actually saw this one in IMAX back in the day, and I enjoyed it. I've always kind of had a soft spot for this movie, and because it's very brief, and that's like just over 90 minutes long, and you have a great cast, including Kurt Russell, Josh Lucas, Emmy Rossum, Andre Braugher, and just them on a capsized vessel that, like, when a huge rogue wave hits them and turns over their ship, they're trying to make it out before they end up at the bottom of the ocean forever and to seal their fate. And there's a lot of big kind of, once things get started, which it doesn't take super long, things rarely let up as these characters are going from like space to space trying to survive. And a lot of them do not survive. But it is very fast paced, very thrilling. And it's just good popcorn entertainment. I know audiences are kind of split on this one, but if you like disaster films and you're not the most critical, Poseidon I think is pretty fun. If you just kind of want that turn your brain off disaster entertainment, I think it hits the spot. May not be up to the levels of the original, like Irwin Allen stuff, but it's a fun movie, and I'm glad that it got the 4K upgrade, because the previous release, which I still only had the HD DVD, yes, it was back in that era, but the Blu-ray was from the same master. It was encoded on VC1 audio, or VC1 codec, which was older and wasn't quite as advanced as the ABC that we have now. So it really had kind of a softer appearance on Blu-ray. It just really showed its age at almost 20 years old now. So getting this 4K refresh was very, very welcome. This came from a new restore. It's been restored in 4K from the original 2K digital intermediate. So it is an upscale, but as I like to say whenever we talk about upscales to 4K from a 2K source, that doesn't always mean that it is not worthwhile or not worth buying, because upscales can look really, really great when done right. And I feel that Arrow Video has done a really good job with this one. Sure, you may not get like 4K texture out of a 2K source, but you still get more texture. Everything is more refined, especially compared to the old like HD formats, like the Blu-rays and the HD DVDs. It's very much improved upon that. You have better audio, the DTS 5.0 audio. I wish this had kind of gotten a alternative, like expanded track, like maybe a Dolby Atmos track, but the DTS 5.1 audio still sounds good. The use of Dolby Vision in terms of black levels, there's deep black levels, no blown highlights. The colors, especially in the New Year's Eve celebrations, really pop off the screen really quite nicely, and I think the Dolby Vision is one of the most impressive aspects of this release. So if you're a fan of this film, if you have it as a pleasure or a guilty pleasure, I think this 4K is worth it, because you also get some new special features, including you get 4 new interviews with different craftspeople, like cinematographer and production design people and stuff. You get a retrospective from Heath Holland from Serial at Midnight, and you get various archival featurettes that goes into like the special effects and all kinds of stuff. So all the original special features plus new content as well. So Poseidon from Arrow Video. I really, really like this release. I'm very happy that Warner Brothers has partnered with Arrow and delivered a lot of quality releases in the last year or so, and I hear that they have several more deals in place. So keep on pumping out titles from one of my favorite studios. I will eat it all up. So Poseidon on 4K. I think it's worth your time. Another one from that Warner Brothers deal from Arrow was for the horror fans. We have 2 titles. We have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003 and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. So I'll go through both of these, but kind of talk about them all at once. This 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which reversible cover art is the original over here. I saw this back when it came out in a drive-in, so it's always had kind of a special place in my heart as a kind of a young teenager at this time, and watching Leatherface just really go through some people and mess them up in the ideal setting at the time. I think this version of the movie, while you cannot really beat the original 70s version from Tobe Hooper, I think this does a respectable job with the franchise. It's not completely ridiculous. It's one of the better kind of 2000s horror remakes, in my opinion. And you have some really gnarly kills. You have gorgeous Jessica Biel. You have Arlie Ermy just kind of being Arlie Ermy, but like very creepy and just wild as a sheriff, which you get to know more of in the beginning. It just, like I said, it might just be a lot of the nostalgia playing for me, but I think the 2000s Texas Chainsaw Massacre is really good, and I had a lot of fun revisiting it. It'd been a few years since I had watched it, but it was really cool to revisit this on 4K. and just seeing all the kills in its gnarly glory. So this has been given a new 4K restoration from the original 35mm original camera negative in Dolby Vision. This looks really, really great. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so it's supposed to look kind of like gritty and sweaty and just like kind of grimy. But it looks that to its best state. It's in the original aspect ratio. I think previous releases were maybe slightly altered to like 1.78 by 1. This is 1.85 by 1. So slight differences, but just kind of refined to where it's supposed to be, and really nice deep colors. Everything just looks very nice and particularly gross in the way that it's supposed to. If you've previously owned this film, this is going to be the best it's ever looked by quite a large margin. You get 3 audio tracks. You get a new 7.1 audio track. You get the 5.1, and then that's the original stereo or a stereo track. And I think the 7.1 expands things out tastefully, without seeming too revisionist or anything. But all the tracks sound great for what you need them for. So I'm glad that Arrow bumped up the audio a little bit for those who want it, while keeping the original 5.1 source as well. Everything sounds appropriately powerful whenever like the chainsaw revs up, and it's very impressive. A lot of what I'm saying can also be applied to the beginning, so I won't go as deep into that one, but I will show that off as well. In terms of special features, you get 4 commentary tracks on this one. You get 1 new one and 3 archival commentary tracks. You get some interviews. You get a making of featurette. You get deleted scenes. Overall, can't really complain about this one. It's been long on my want list for a 4K upgrade of this one, and I finally got it. And I think you couldn't have asked for a better company than Arrow Video to deliver it. Like I mentioned, we have the beginning here as well, which came out a few years later, but it was during a time, for some reason, I never got around to seeing this one. So this was my first time watching this one. And it is also very impressive, even seemingly more disturbing and gory and everything. It is a prequel, going back to seeing how Leatherface really got his start from a factory worker turns sadistic psychopath. It's not quite as a straight line or whatever. He had his problems before then, but you really see how his family really kind of came together to support his extracurricular activities. Here's a fold out poster. So you get to see how Arlie Army became sheriff. You get to see draft dodgers get their comeuppance. You get to see younger Matt Bomer in his prime. You get to see Jordana Brewster. You get to see a lot of like beautiful people getting chased and or killed by Leatherface. It was really struck me that whenever I was watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, how Leatherface is probably one of the villains who does the most sewing. So seeing him do his sewing really just took me down a mental path of just wondering maybe what villains do you think sew the most. So if you have an answer besides Leatherface, drop that in the comments, because I want to know who you think the villain is who does the most sewing. But this was really good. Like I said, first time viewing, and I was very impressed, very disturbed by how much gore there was, but in a good way. There is 2 versions of this. Both are in 4K. There's the original theatrical and then the unrated cut. I think this is one of the first times where the unrated cut has been given like such a loving and great presentation. I'm not even sure it had a really good HD release before, but it looks really great in 4K. Similarly, restored in 4K from the original 35mm camera negative with the 7.1, 5.1, and 2.0 stereo audio. all that looks and sounds great. Like I said, everything I mentioned of how good it looks for the 2003 version would also apply to the beginning. Very much comparable in video quality. You get 2 commentary tracks, one new, one archival. Once again, interviews, making of featurettes, deleted scenes, tons of special features on both of these. So if you're a fan of this series, both the 2003 version and the beginning are ideal 4K releases. Really, the only thing I can fault it for is I'm not super big fan of these covers. They're very, they're understated and artistic. Which is cool, but it just doesn't really quite jump out at you as much as I kind of wish it would. But otherwise, fantastic aesthetics. If that's the only thing from the packaging that's wrong with their release, I can live with that. Really great releases from Era Video. Those 2 films, very much worth checking out. Next up, we are heading over to our friends at Deaf Crocodile. And since we just finished talking about a horror franchise, you may think the title of this next title is going into more horror territory, but that wouldn't quite be correct. We had the Blu-ray deluxe edition of The Devil's Bride, and while the devil is involved, this is a Lithuanian rock opera that it's one of the more wild films that Deaf Crocodile has released, which is saying something for them. This opens with a really cool kind of bacchanal almost around Jesus, who seems like a real cool dude in this one, until some devils get cast out of heaven, and the one in particular lands in a pond near a farmer, and this guy, or this devil, brokers a deal with the farmer to get him the love that he seeks, to fall in love with him and be with him. But in order to get this, the farmer will have to give up their firstborn, who is a young girl who grows up and is played by the same actress who plays the mother. There is a whole situation with the devil and trying to kind of claim the young daughter, teenage 20-something daughter, and it goes off into a whole situation with various people vying for her affection, and all of this craziness is sung. There is not a moment of like dialogue that is not sung. It is all musical, and it's kind of like a little bit Jesus Christ Superstar, a little bit of Wicker Man, Midsummer, a little just all kinds of craziness within this kind of like folk tale rock opera, with a little bit of like religious iconography stuff going on. It's very interesting. If you're struggle with musicals that don't have any dialogue, you'll struggle here. But if you're into just like discovering the weird and wild pockets of international cinema, because how often are you watching Lithuanian cinema? Probably not super often, but I love discovering what different countries around the world like kind of delve into, and how their sensibilities kind of like inform their filmmaking. And it's just such a fascinating discovery, and Deaf Crocodile has given this a really loving release. This is a deluxe edition, but if you want the standard version, it would just be the case that I showed you, like this, without like the booklet and all kinds of stuff. Really cool movie and a loving release. This has been restored by Madstone in Lithuania, I believe several years back, but it looks great, and it looks really nice in high definition. No major blemishes or anything like that. It's obviously been taken care of very deftly, and no major shortcomings, and the audio sounds good as well, which is important for a musical. So everything is as good as you would want it to be on an audio level, And then you have some great special features to put this into context as well. You have a commentary track. You have 2 new interviews. You have a visual essay, which really, anytime you see a visual essay on a Deaf Crocodile release, I highly recommend checking that out, because even if you watch something from Deaf Crocodile, a lot of their films can be a little bit challenging on a first watch. And I've often found that if I ever struggle a little bit with a Deaf Crocodile title, if you watch a video essay or read one of the written essays or something, and you get a little bit more context, or you just kind of get more in the headspace of what the director was trying to pull off, it'll usually give you a newfound appreciation, or give you kind of like the keys to unlock a little bit more from the film and get more out of on repeat viewings, which is the case here. But even though it was a film I liked the first time through, it just gives me more appreciation. So audiovisual wise, A+. Special features wise, always knocking out of the park. Packaging wise, one of my favorite. Just seeing all these kind of like lined up on my shelf, it makes me so happy. Just Deaf Crocodile, always killing it. So The Devil's Bride, make sure to pick this one up, because it's weird, it's wild, and it's definitely a conversation starter. So pick it up, invite a friend over, and just expose them to something just they would never see otherwise. That's what Deaf Crocodile is all about, in my opinion. But that is not their only release this month. We are also revisiting a classic that they released from their OCN distribution Vinegar Syndrome days, but giving it a very valid reason for revisiting this. We are revisiting The Pied Piper from Jiří Barta, but also included in this is a whole new disc of Jiří Barta shorts. So this has been given the nice deluxe edition packaging, which I love, all kind of the little flourishes of just like making sure this is a well-round, like just the box just kind of feels like a fully 3-dimensional piece of art. And so I won't go super deep into the Pied Piper. I have done a video of that in the past, which you'll be able to see linked in my written review, but I will mostly be talking about the new Barta shorts. But the Pied Piper, I will just say, it's based on that kind of the classic story. It's around an hour-long stop-motion animation. Just some of the most inventive, occasionally grotesque, but gorgeous in its grotesqueness animation around. And just really an impressive adaptation of the story. But the Barta shorts, it's a range of styles and stuff, from stop motion animation to different kind of live action elements and all kinds of just... Barta is just working on a level just that really amazes you, and just what he got into in these 7 shorts, one of which is carried over. It was on the first disc, the one with the gloves. They included that also on the second disc, so all of these shorts, the second disc would be together and everything. So if you want to watch all the shorts, they're all in one place. But the 6 new shorts that have also been restored are really cool. You have ghosts of sentient mannequins, a kind of anteater-like creature kind of gobbling up stuff and trying to pass tests and stuff, and really cool like kind of time lapses of like apartment, like stencil, like the way that this apartment complex is kind of stenciled together, and kind of tackling the kind of the uniformity of kind of that kind of living situation and what Barta is exploring. Very interesting. Like I said, like the previous gloves one, like kind of seeing the secret life of a lost glove. That's fun. So many interesting and pretty, some pretty lengthy shorts, some kind of on the shorter side, but you definitely get your money's worth. So if you have the previous Pied Piper release from Vinegar Syndrome and OCN distribution days, you can kind of view this as you are getting the new Jiří Barta shorts, and they are including the Pied Piper disc as kind of like a bonus, because actually the bonus disc has more kind of like feature content than the Pied Piper. Since the Pied Piper is kind of on the shorter side, you're getting more kind of content through the shorts. So don't be mad at Deaf Crocodile for like making you double dip. They are being, in my opinion, kind by including Pied Piper in this for anyone who didn't get it originally, and not really charging that much difference than a one disc release, maybe a couple bucks. But this is really kind of a value conscious release that kind of really encompasses everything you would want from this artist. So I really like what they did with this. The original disc one with the Pied Piper, it's exactly the same as the previous disc, but the second disc, including special features and stuff, which for the original disc one, you had stuff like a commentary track on the Pied Piper, by a rare behind the scenes making up featurette that had been restored. You had a very long interview with Jiří Barta, and then Barta came back now to discuss with Dennis from Deaf Crocodile once again about the short films in particular. So you get a second really long interview with Jiří Barta, and then you get a new visual essays and stuff. So many things to watch in terms of the features and short films and commentary tracks and interviews and visual essays. There's a lot going on in this set. So if you're a fan of like stop motion animation, any kind of animation, or just great entertainment in general, this Pied Piper and Jiří Barta shorts set is well worth your money. They've put so much effort into this, and it is a really, really great release. So make sure to hang out with the Pied Piper. He's a weirdo, but it'll make your life better. Heading back a little bit to the 30s, we have the Hopalong Cassidy Volume 1 release from Classic Flicks. This has I believe the first 3 shorts from Hopalong Cassidy, the series that apparently went like 60-something shorts over the years. A very long-running kind of Western series. But it does include the original Hopalong Cassidy. It has the Eagle's Brood, and then it has Bar 20 Rides Again. So all these are right around an hour long, but 3 films, 1 disc, and some special features as well. But Hopalong Cassidy, these are B westerns, but they're very probably the most famous and well done B westerns in terms of this character who's always very entertaining. Usually in the case of these films, you have at least 2 where he's trying to face off against different cattle rustlers and stuff, and really trying to defend people. In the second one, the Eagle's Brood, that's the one where he is trying to help out someone track down their son who helped him out. He's trying to repay a favor and track down this man's son and from these nefarious folks. But it's just kind of your classic Western kind of tropes, but done very well with a really good production value for this time, and just really entertaining stuff. So I went through these pretty quickly since I said they're only about an hour long each. But I had a blast watching these. And Classic Flicks have done a really nice job restoring these. The Bar 20 Returns and the original or Bar 20 Rides Again and the original Hopalong Cassidy are the most impressive looking. I was shocked by how good these looked restored. Whenever I first put on Hopalong Cassidy, just very few blemishes, just really restored almost to perfection. Everything looked very clear, nice, no density fluctuations, no encoding anomalies. Everything looked pretty fantastic. The Eagle's Brood, that's the one there's a message ahead of this transfer where it talks about only the fourth reel survived of the 35 millimeter like original materials. So that reel looks better than the rest. The remainder of the film had to be sourced from a 16 millimeter source, which doesn't look quite as good. They've obviously tried to mitigate any kind of anomalies as much as possible, but compared to the other two films, it does take a quality step down. But if the option is that this just never gets released at all, definitely happy to have this looking as it does on this release for the second film. But like I said, the other two are terrific looking. But everything, the Eagle's Brood still looks solid. And sounds good as well, especially for being so old. There's minor like shortcomings like hollowness and stuff here and there, but overall it's a pretty consistent sounding presentation. You do get a couple of commentary tracks on here. You get a documentary, a mini documentary, and you get some bonus shorts, like including some like material that didn't have any sound and stuff, and just different kind of extra little bits and pieces that it makes this a really well-rounded release. So Classic Flicks and their release of the Hopalong Cassidy Volume 1. I eagerly looking forward to future volumes because this one was quite entertaining. Going even a little bit further back, we're going over to Eureka and their Masters of Cinema series, and we had Finis Terrae, which is a silent era film that's compared to like Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse on the back, and I can kind of see that because you have a group of men going off to kind of a remote island and kind of getting stuck there and kind of losing their minds. And while kind of the men are interacting with one another, some of them start declining a little bit faster than others, and they start to distrust one another, and they get themselves into some volatile situations, and there's no one around to really help them out. A really nice booklet here. So if you kind of like the kind of like slow burn dread of kind of like isolation and psychosis, I think this would kind of appeal to you. It is a silent film, so it's a lot of really great visual storytelling here, but the intertitles with the dialogue and stuff, there's also kind of guide you pretty well. Very impressed with how Eureka treated this one. This is from a new 4K restoration by Gaumont. This has an interview, a video essay, and an appreciation piece to kind of give a little bit more context. But love this cover art, love everything on the disc, the audio visual presentation, special features and stuff. Eureka video always really impressing me, and this is well worth picking up if you're a fan of silent era cinema. Heading over to the good people at Radiance Films, we have the Polish film Through and Through. So this is a good movie about a man who's kind of down on his luck. He's trying to be a burgeoning architect that can barely find work. He ends up striking up a relationship with this woman that's doesn't always seem to be the most healthy, but while they are kind of on their grind trying to survive and stuff, they find themselves getting increasingly more desperate, until it escalates to a point that violence occurs. I'll try to keep it pretty vague, but seeing these two trying to survive and what their desperation leads them to, very interesting. Very much enjoyed discovering this one. This is not one I had even heard of before, but that's one of the gifts of Radiance, is just similar to Deaf Crocodile, just kind of just like making sure gems from around the world aren't forgotten and they are given their best presentation. So Through and Through very much impressed me, so thankful for Radiance. This has been a nice release from them in terms of you got a new 2K restoration supervised by the director of photography. We got 3 additional short films on this one and an interview. Transfer wise, looks really, really good with the new restoration. No major shortcomings with the audio. This isn't the most dialogue heavy film, but what is there sounds perfectly solid. Polish with English subtitles. Through and through. Another nice gem from Radiance Films, along with their next installment, Volume 2 of the Shinobi series. The first one came out about a little over a year ago, and this is the second installment. So this first volume had the first 3 films. Now we have the next 3 films. So 4, 5, and 6 here, which includes Siege, and Return of Mist Saizo on the first disc here. So you got that here. You got some art cards here that I'll show off. So these first 2 films, they're really kind of a pair in that the 5th film picks up pretty much right where the 4th film ends. Lots of revenge and I mean, that's what a lot of these films are about, but just trying to deal with the power vacuum that was left after the first kind of trilogy ended and the new emperor that took over and kind of the forces that be, trying to reckon with that and how it kind of affects everyone, all these different characters. The 3rd film takes place a little while past that, but The Last Aiga Spy kind of continues on along the themes. There's a very kind of satisfying payoff to a long-held grudge in this one. And I have to give a shout out. I believe it was in the 5th movie, The Return of Miss Saizo. There's a really impressive sequence in which there's someone trying to kind of escape in the cover of darkness, and just seeing them use their kind of ninja skills while all these other people are trying to track them down and just jumping and hiding and stuff. It was thrilling. I loved it. And what I really like about this series is it's different from kind of like your Shaw Brothers stuff where you're seeing a lot of kung fu and people are constantly fighting and just like getting into physical altercations, which this does happen in this series. There is fights and everything, but this ninja, they're more so about stealth, and a lot of the ways they kind of eliminate their adversaries through different like poisons and different like all their like kind of surveillance stuff. It's really cool, and it's a really breath of fresh air. Whenever you deal with so much like Japanese cinema and stuff, it's different. It's really cool to see different aspects and flavors of this area of the world. So really glad to get another Shinobi volume. I believe there's enough for another volume that I hopefully will get probably maybe sometime next year, fingers crossed. But these are new 2K transfers from Katakawa, which really look really good. Very much on par with what the first set looked like. Maybe very minor fluctuations here and there, but everything looks pretty solid. Grayscale's intact, nice contrast, no crushed blacks or anything like that. New interviews and select scene commentaries and stuff. Really impressive presentation from Radiance. Shinobi Volume 2. Another winner for them, and very much worth checking out, especially if you like the first volume. This is just more fun to be had. So, and at least the 5th and 6th movie has never been released domestically, I'm pretty sure. So these have been very hard to find. So now you have access to them, and now you have no excuse. So Radiance Films, thank you for this one. Really, really great release from you. Getting out of the boutique world for, I believe, the remainder, we are going over to MGM and their new release of Town Without Pity, starring Kirk Douglas. I believe this is the first time it's been released on Blu-ray in the U.S. Because a lot of these MGM releases are sometimes like releases from like old Twilight Time or Olive Films or stuff. But this seems to be new to Blu-ray. This movie kind of frustrated me. This is a brief trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about sexual assault for just a couple, like 30 seconds or so. But this film involves a teenage girl in Germany who is raped by a quartet of U.S. soldiers who are over there. While she is kind of out with her boyfriend one day, and he's like across the river from her and stuff. But she gets sexually assaulted. And these men are put on trial, and Kirk Douglas is brought in to make sure that they are not given the death penalty, and try to just make sure that they aren't killed in this kind of German town where everyone wants vengeance for this young girl. In order to accomplish that, he has to conduct an investigation that basically involves him trying to discredit her in various ways, kind of undermine her and make her relive her trauma, make her seem like she was kind of almost asking for it, like, oh, you were like naked changing your swimsuit whenever these men saw you, like, isn't it reasonable that like men seeing a naked lady wouldn't be able to control themselves? If that kind of thing kind of really frustrates you, you're gonna hate this movie, because it's just all kinds of, yes, it is the movie that it in points kind of confronts these situations and like saying that the characters that are exploring this aren't like the best people, or not doing this in the right way. But even I believe some of the ideology behind this movie is not the most tasteful, and definitely rubbed me the wrong way. And just watching a movie in which like a girl is discredited, and the way like people view this topic, the way it has evolved for the better over the years, it's really frustrating to go back to a movie like this and just see how backwards these people were. And in addition to that, I just could not believe this isn't like really a spoiler, but Kirk Douglas is representing these young boys, whereas the military, like the U.S. military, is kind of gung-ho to be A-okay with these like soldiers being executed, like put to death for this, which is not something our military would ever do. And that is ridiculous, because if anything, our military would just trying to cover everything up and make sure that no one, no reputations are sullied or anything. They always protect their soldiers and stuff. So that just was, I could not suspend my disbelief that much. I'll get off my soapbox, but this, I like seeing Kirk Douglas, like, he, like, in movies, in terms of like his performance was good. Like, structurally, the movie was solid and it was entertaining as like a courtroom drama and stuff. But I was so frustrated by the details of this that it was very, very hard to enjoy this movie. I got a lot of enjoyment ranting about this to my wife afterwards and kind of telling her about all the ridiculous things that were happening. But that's not exactly what I think a lot of people would want from this movie. So if you aren't as like incensed by certain scenarios that are in this movie as I am, maybe you'll like it more. It did not work for me. But Town Without Pity, the HD transfer, it looks to be at least restored to an extent. It didn't look to be like a super old master. It looks pretty nice. No major blemishes or anything. Audio seems solid as well. No special features. These MGM releases are usually pretty bare bones, and that is the case here. But video-wise, pretty good. Like, no major blemishes. It's very much passable. So if you don't own it and you want to, it seems to be a good release. It's just one that I didn't personally care for particularly. But the next one, not as controversial, is from Sony. It is the new Blu-ray release of Stop, Look, and Laugh. This is a title from the Three Stooges. It's basically kind of like a collection of some of their like most famous or crowd favorite skits, kind of all within the framework of like a man kind of telling about some exploits to his child, and there's all kinds of like kind of like a narrative going throughout that kind of leads into various Three Stooges antics. Played by the kind of man who's narrating all this is Paul Winchell. But mainly, this is just an avenue for the Three Stooges to get into silly antics. And on that aspect, it delivers. If you want Three Stooges fun, you will get some here. And it's perfectly entertaining. It's great peak physical comedy. It's a good time. And the transfer looks really great. It's a Sony release, and they usually restore stuff pretty well, and it looks very nice. No major blemishes, no audio shortcomings. Original audio sounds great. Really, really nice presentation from Sony. No special features besides a trailer, but at least that's something. So Sony, if you're a Three Stooges fan, stop, look, and laugh. It's a solid release for Three Stooges fans. Staying in the comedy world, going to Gravitas Ventures and their Blu-ray release of When We Went Mad. This is a documentary about Mad Magazine and its kind of legacy from beginning to end and to where it is now. This is a manufactured on-demand disc. This is a burn disc, so if you have a player that doesn't work well with it, just be aware of that. But as a documentary, I had quite a bit of fun with this. I love documentaries, and whatever I've ever seen or like read of Mad Magazine, it's always been entertaining. But I didn't know quite the nuts and bolts of how it came to be. But this gave me what I needed. You had a mixture of famous like kind of talking head people like Quentin Tarantino and Bryan Cranston, Howie Mandel, Judd Apatow, people like that, kind of like talking about how Mad Magazine kind of informed their careers. And then you had people who wrote and like were there for some of the very prime years, like back in like the 60s and 70s and 80s, and a lot of great archival material. It's a really nice blending of like newer interviews, archival material, and just like personal and kind of like and fan admiration kind of interviews. It balances things pretty well. And it's not always the most like effusive either. Like kind of digs into some of the more kind of like controversial elements of the magazine and stuff. It's not, like I said, it's not an all-out love fest, so it at least seems to be a little bit objective. I love documentaries. If you do too, and you are interested in Mad Magazine, check this one out. When we went mad, good Blu-ray release. In terms of the visual quality, crisp, clear, no major macro blocking, sound DTS 511 sounds good, no special features. So Blu-ray release from When We Went Mad, recommended from me. Tackling a couple of Kino titles from Kino Classics, we have the 1940s version of The Farmer's Daughter, in which a couple of theater people are tasked to by their wealthy benefactor to rehearse kind of like outside the city. They end up going to this kind of rural town where they hold rehearsals, and they meet the farmer's daughter, played by Martha Ray, who ends up through various means and stuff, ends up starring in the play, and after having to replace kind of the more tempestuous starlet who was supposed to be starring in it. Martha Ray in this one, very kind of klutzy, but charming in like a way that it's a good mixture of just like you're endeared to her, even though she often is just kind of like a loose cannon or just kind of really just messing stuff up. You still gotta love her. Very short movie, just an hour long, but I was entertained by it. So if you like kind of these old 30s, 40s comedies, it'll, I think, scratch that itch. I'm not really quite sure of the source of the master. It's not listed as a new transfer, but it was good. I didn't notice any major damage or anything like that. Maybe small blemishes here and there, maybe a little bit of density fluctuation, but overall, solid older transfer if it is an older transfer. Commentary track that from film historian Farron Smith-Nim. She always does a really nice job. Yeah, overall, solid release of The Farmer's Daughter. There's other films with this name, but this is the 1940 version, and they've done a nice job with it. Going a little bit earlier, back to 1931, we have two pre-code classics. We have Confessions of a Co-ed and Ladies of the Big House. These are both starring Sylvia Sidney. And in this one, both of them involve her kind of getting into a little bit of trouble by no fault of her own. Confessions of a Co-ed involves her kind of falling for someone who ends up getting himself into a little bit of trouble. There's kind of a love affair that doesn't quite go right. There's mature themes for that are fit for pre-code, like potential, like an unwanted pregnancy and the ramifications of that, and infidelity, all kinds of stuff like that. And Ladies of the Big House involves her once again getting involved with a man, and them both getting framed for a crime that no one believes that they didn't do, and she is trying behind bars to make sure they don't get executed and stuff. So both of these were quite entertaining. I think I like Ladies of the Big House a little bit more, but overall, anytime I've seen a Sylvia Sidney movie, which I've seen her in some Fritz Lang movies, I've always been quite enamored with her. So seeing both of these movies in one set, that right in my wheelhouse, and I really quite enjoyed it. These are both from new 4K scans, and they look solid. Neither of them are overly long. They're both about an hour and 15, 16 minutes long. But overall, really nice release. And that visually, these are from the early 30s. So yes, you'll have a little bit of shortcomings here and there, maybe a little bit of flickering and stuff. But for this era of cinema, I don't have many major complaints. So impressed visually and audio wise is as good as it can be. In terms of special features, you get some commentary tracks, one for each film. Yeah. Kino is always just kind of releasing some of these older films that no other label is releasing. The closest we get is like Warner Archive, but that's just kind of their own material. Kino, they're always releasing classic films from different studios and around the world and stuff. So really appreciate what they contribute to the physical media landscape, because not many people are. So if you're interested in pre-code cinema, make sure to check that out. We got a 4K release from them of Sam Peckinpah's Convoy, Chris Christopherson. This was a movie I saw when I was quite a bit younger. It had been many, many years since I've seen this one, but it was a blast revisiting it. Chris Christopherson kind of getting in trouble with the law, played by Ernest Borgnine, ends up kind of like starting a convoy of kind of like-minded like truckers and different people on the road who are kind of going along for the cause of really just kind of, no one really quite understands what the convoy is about. They just know it is kind of counterculture and just really kind of a middle finger to the man. And everyone kind of tries to assign kind of a message to the convoy, but everyone kind of has their own ideas of what they are kind of like rallying against. It's kind of almost like a little bit more serious, but not completely serious, Smokey and the Bandit, but with more people and friends and stuff. I really love Chris Christopherson. I'm sad that he passed away in recent years, but he's great in this role. Many, many bizarre choices are made in a good way. Just the things that happen in this movie are sometimes baffling but fun. And yeah, Peckinpah, it's far from like the crazy like violence and stuff you would see in his other movies, but there's some interesting things and action going on here and stuff. So if you've never seen Convoy, you're in for a treat, but I really enjoyed revisiting it. And in 4K, it was nice. This has been released on 4K overseas in a couple of territories, including one from Imprint. But these all seem to use a similar master. This is from a 4K master from, I believe, Studio Canal. 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Yeah, from Studio Canal. In Dolby Vision. And it looks pretty solid. I didn't notice. I know sometimes Kino's encoding can be hit or miss, but overall, I think it seems pretty solid here. Maybe not perfect, but overall good. Dolby Vision looks fantastic. So the colors are really great. And yeah, maybe just very, very minor encoding issues, but not to the degree that I've seen from other Kino titles. 3 commentary tracks, 1 new, 2 are older. A feature-length documentary that runs like over like 70 minutes long. That's really great. You get some visual essays, you get some featurettes, a whole disc of special features like I showed you. This doesn't include like the TV version of the film or anything that I believe the imprint release included. That they reconstructed, but you do get to see those scenes within the context of the documentary that's included on here. So overall, I'm happy with this Convoy 4K release. Really, really a solid effort from Kino, and very much worth checking out if you're a Sam Peckinpah fan or a Chris Christopherson fan. And finally, probably one of the most unexpected 4K releases of the year, because it's always shocking whenever TV gets a 4K upgrade. And it's especially shocking when a classic TV show gets a 4K upgrade. And that's Knight Rider from Universal, all 4 seasons on 4K Ultra HD. Blew my mind when this was released. I've actually never owned this series before, so I can't really make comparisons to how this looked previously. But it was released by Mill Creek Entertainment on Blu-ray previously. And just knowing what I know about Mill Creek, I know that release probably had its fair share of shortcomings in terms of encoding, which this one does too, but I'll get to that. But this release about a crime-fighting man in his talking car and all that, that's very distilled to what he's, but it offers a lot of fun, and these 4 seasons have a really good hit record in terms of entertainment, but the presentations themselves, these have most of the music intact, but I believe there are 6 songs that have been replaced, including a Prince song or a couple of Prince songs. But having never heard this before, I don't quite know like how this differs comparatively. I know that, like I said, there's a couple about 6 songs replaced, including one that is kind of ridiculous because they didn't replace any music with it, so it looks like a girl is dancing to nothing. That's probably the most egregious example, but the other kind of shortcoming of this set is the first episode, the first like pilot, that's a 2-parter in syndication. It is the original like kind of feature-length episode. There are other 2-parters that are the syndicated episodes, so they aren't joined as one, and there is footage cut out, so you are missing several minutes of feature or content on each episode. So that adds up to about like 30 plus minutes of missing content because there are syndicated episodes of these 2-parters included. Some missing music and a couple of edited episodes. The only way you can correct both of these issues is there is apparently a Blu-ray set from overseas from Turbine. Reportedly, I've not seen this, reportedly is very impressive visually, has all the unedited music and no edited episodes in terms of like the 2-parters and stuff. What this set has going for it is these are from new 4K restorations from Universal. That mostly look pretty fantastic on a basic master level. I did notice a small few things where you can kind of see where the restoration process left a few kind of digital mess ups and stuff, but it's not a major issue. I noticed at least near the end of the pilot, especially whenever there's like a hospital scene where I saw like a minor blip, where that kind of stood out on a visual level. And since this is 4 seasons of a television show, I've had this for a little bit, but I haven't been able to watch 4 seasons of a show. But from what I've checked out, it mostly looks good from a master perspective. Where this does come up a little bit short, unfortunately, is this does not have the best compression, the best encoding. So there is some definite shortcomings from the encoding in terms of macro blocking and stuff in various scenes, which is unfortunate. This is an HDR10, which the colors look really, really, really great. I just think a little bit more care should have been put towards the encode, so this looked like a more flawless release, in addition to like the syndicated cuts and the music stuff. So there's really key things that Universal could have done to make this a perfect set that they chose not to do. But I can understand the music issues a little bit more, since music issues can cost a lot of money, and it's just something that they couldn't completely rectify within like their financial means. But with the syndicated episodes and the encoding, a little bit more care should have been put towards it. If you're not the most kind of like nitpicking person, or like you don't get really bothered or like notice a lot of like encoding issues, I think most kind of like quote unquote normal audiences will probably think this looks very, very nice, and it does for in certain regards. It just could look a lot better, and just some of the ways that it does come up short is frustrating from a fan perspective, because I want to see shows like this on 4K. Universal has tons of shows that would thrive on 4K, and I've heard people throw out ideas like the original Miami Vice, or The Incredible Hulk, or Magnum PI. Like, Universal is rich with older releases that could benefit from 4K. But I don't want them to just put out 4K just for the hell of it, in terms of just you'll throw anything on a disc and people will buy it. I want them to put some care into it. I want to make sure everything is encoded properly. I want to make sure unedited episodes, all that kind of stuff, because there is some care put into this on the special features side, including a new documentary, which for Knight Rider fans may be worth it enough, because it's like over an hour, like about an hour long, some great interviews, and it just really just makes your love for the series really just kind of like flow inside you, and really it's a really rewarding watch. And there's also other special features like commentary tracks and behind the scene, the original Knight Rider 2000 movie in standard definition, and just other behind the scenes content. Mixed bag audio visual wise. I think the master looks fantastic. The encoding isn't as hot, but overall it's a decent set. But if you're especially sensitive to bad compression, there's a lot of reasons why you should probably pick up the Turbine Blu-ray overseas instead. But for the best of both worlds, maybe get both. But this 4K release from Universal, it's passable, but underwhelming compared to what it could be. Not what I would love to report, but it's just not quite to the level I wish it was. But yeah, Universal, don't abandon 4K for television. Just do a little bit better, please. But that is my show. I hope you found something that you were interested in checking out, or I helped you inform your buying decision. If so, let me know in the comments. I always love hearing about what I'm talking about that is connecting with people. If there's something you wish that I would talk about on a future episode, happy to do that. Drop that comment as well. Like the video. Make sure you share this with anyone that you know loves physical media, because I always love getting to know more of you and just having more of you interact with me. I love doing this every week. I'm so blessed to do this, and I appreciate anyone who tunes in. But I will be back again next week. Until next time, enjoy these movies.
Do you not see it? The only things that keep this little wooden world together are hard work, discipline.
Jack, the man failed to salute.
For God's sake, Stephen, there's hierarchies even in nature, as you've often said yourself.
There is no disdain in nature. There is no humiliation.
Men must be governed. Often not wisely, I will grant you, but they must be governed nonetheless.
That's the excuse of every tyrant in history, from Nero to Bonaparte. And I, for one, am opposed to authority.
Your opposition is not my concern.
Misery and oppression.
You've come to the wrong shop for anarchy, brother.
Ah!